So, you know, a lot of people will talk about alphas and betas, but these are two socially conditioned models of masculinity. And the spiritual alpha, the true spiritual alpha, has completely transcended all of that. What is up, Soul Fam? It's Sundal from Substance Over Style, and welcome to a new video. Okay, so Amy requested on my video how to attract a high value woman. Please make a video on how to attract a high value man. Okay, so I did talk about this a little bit in my video, Attract Great Guys by Healing Your Inner Feminine, and it's kind of all about shadow work and feminine embodiment and stuff like that. So I will link that, so give that a watch. But I also, and I'm going to make another video dealing with her question specifically, but I thought that I needed to make a video first on identifying what is a high value man. So here is that video. Sorry, why does it keep on going in and out? Sorry, I'm still learning how to use this camera, so if anybody knows how to use a Fuji X-T100 and knows how to stop making the light kind of go in and out, please let me know, help me. Some of you were really helpful with helping me on my Instagram when I was having problems with another camera issue, so yeah, I wouldn't mind a little bit of help. Yes, okay, so what was I talking about? What is a high value man? Okay, so what is a high value man? Okay, so loads of people are talking about this all over YouTube. High value man, high value man. Okay, for me, the way that I teach this, the high value man is the spiritual alpha. Okay, now I defined what the spiritual alpha was in my video on the Incel Revolution, so if you haven't watched that, you can also go give that a watch. Okay, so in a lot of the red pill and MGTOW spaces on the internet, as well as all the different dating advice videos that everybody's making on feminine energy and all this stuff, they always talk about a high value masculine man, but don't really define what it is. And you know, some people seem to think that a high value man is a high earning man, which is fine if your values only consist of, you know, money and materialism and, you know, being provided for and being financially stable, which is fine because those things are important. The way that I categorize a high value man is more than that, you know, and in the past I didn't even think about that, like I didn't even care. But as you start to get older, financial stability becomes important, especially for people who have children. It's very important to be financially stable. So a high value man does need to have a certain amount of financial stability. Does he need to be extremely wealthy and like a six-figure earner? Not necessarily. It depends on the type of woman that he's trying to attract. For me, the spiritual alpha, which is the true high value king, is a man who is balanced. So, you know, a lot of people will talk about alphas and betas, but these are two socially conditioned models of masculinity. And the spiritual alpha, the true spiritual alpha, has completely transcended all of that. So you've got the socially conditioned alpha, who is generally very left brain imbalanced. He is very much in his masculine energy. He's your typical alpha masculine type. He tends to be he you know, veers towards the service to self pole. So he can be narcissistic, he can be controlling, he can be a dominator. So all of those things, and understand that this is a spectrum, so everybody's on this spectrum in, you know, in various aspects. Women can also be on this spectrum as well and embody toxic masculinity. So the socially conditioned alpha is toxic masculine at the most extreme end. Now, the socially conditioned beta generally tends to be more right brain dominant. He tends to have a lot more feminine energy. He's more intuitive. He's more in touch with his emotions. He can be very comfortable being vulnerable. He's your typical nice guy. He tends to have weak boundaries and often get into a state of victim consciousness. Watch my video on the wounded feminine, because women will often tend to embody a lot of this type of energy as well. So because of the law of polarity, or the law of duality, the socially conditioned alpha will seek a socially conditioned alpha female, but will, you know, the relationship will not be compatible, because they're not, you know, it's basically like two magnets trying to become attracted to each other at the same pole. They will repel each other because they're the same thing. Positive attracts negative. So socially conditioned alpha can only be in a compatible relationship with a woman who's much more feminine energy. So, you know, if she's in a state of hyper femininity, which is, you know, victim consciousness, not good boundaries, you know, she is not fully embodied, she's too emotional, doesn't have a good control over her emotions, that's what will match. And women who are more in their masculine will be attracted to a man who's more in his feminine. So a high value man will be in somewhere in the middle. This is where you achieve true sovereignty, when you come into union with yourself, the hieros gamos, the spiritual alpha. This is based on Mark Passio's work, and I've credited him multiple times throughout my videos, and I recommend that anybody who wants to understand these concepts deeper go and study his work, because he talks about it not just on a micro level, which is within the self and interpersonal relationships. In fact, he doesn't even really talk about it that much at all. He talks about it more on a societal level, on a macro level, about how these energies show up in the world and how they show up in political structures. And that's how I ended up becoming called to this work, because I was studying that. So the spiritual alpha will be a man who is balanced, both the masculine and the feminine, because when his feminine is imbalanced, so his care, that's a primary sacred feminine principle, care, compassion, it's the generative principle. When he knows what he cares about, and he has compassion for himself, and compassion for women, and compassion for earth, and compassion for humanity, he can move forward with right action. So he is mission focused, he is goal oriented, he is financially stable because he's been on his mission for a while now. His energy isn't scattered everywhere. A man who is very imbalanced in his left brain will have very scattered sexual energy, okay, which is why he tends to seek the feminine in so many different forms. He cannot stick with one woman because he's not mission focused. So a high value spiritual alpha will be, you know, balanced with the feminine. He will be both masculine and feminine, but he'll know how to polarize a woman into his feminine, how to polarize a woman into her feminine when he occupies the masculine polarity, but it won't be an extreme masculine polarity, okay, because he's balanced. So he will know how to lead forward with right action, right and moral. Sorry, my camera ran out of memory. So what was I saying? Moral action is really key. So for me, you know, I have my moral standards on what type of men I will entertain. So for me, a man has to have a relationship with the divine, because when he has a relationship with the divine, it's not about conforming to certain moral actions such as, you know, honesty, integrity, loyalty, all of that stuff, because of, you know, wanting to keep you in his life. It's because of his own opinion of himself and his own relationship with God, that he doesn't want to be a man who's out here, you know, cheating and beating and, you know, all of the lower masculine behaviors that have become so common on this planet, because God sees him and because he sees himself, and he has that awareness to know that he doesn't want to be that type of person. So a man with moral integrity. I don't date meat eaters because I don't want to be with somebody who thinks that, you know, their own taste buds are more important than an animal's life. That's a... Okay, sorry about that, my battery died, and as you can tell, it's now evening. So yeah, where was I? I was talking about why I have the standard of that a man is vegan, because that would indicate that he is connected to the divine feminine principle of care and compassion. If he's not, I mean, I'm not saying that he can't be caring and compassionate if he's not vegan, but I mean, I'm a vegan, so that's a value system that I have for myself, and I just don't want to be with somebody who eats animals. I just find it unattractive and a turn off, and it's a moral standard that I hold for myself and that I hold for my partners. And I haven't had to date anybody who wasn't vegan since turning vegan. They've all just gone vegan. Even if I haven't said, you know, I'm not going to date you unless you're vegan, I haven't always needed to say that. They've just gone vegan. Because when you explain your reasons for being vegan, it just makes sense. So they just all went vegan. So if that to me is a high value man, other people have other standards, like, you know, the porn thing. I want to do a separate video talking about pornography. I don't date guys who watch porn, and it's actually happened accidentally, because, you know, I dated 2 guys in a row who didn't watch porn and found it really abhorrent. And at that time I didn't really have an issue with it, because I just thought, well, it's just normal, isn't it? All guys watch porn, everybody watches porn. So, you know, I didn't know that could be a standard. And then that's when I discovered the work of Gail Dines, who's a radical feminist, and, you know, really researching the pornography industry, and then also not just the industry and how immoral it is and how exploitative it is, but also the effects that it has on the human brain, on the male brain, on the female brain as well, and what it's doing to our relationships. You know, I don't need to date guys who use it, because, you know, I meet so many who don't use it, who, like, you know, practice semen retention, and obviously porn is not compatible with that practice. So, you know, just things like that. You know, just try, and if you're looking to attract a high value man, then you need to be able to identify the traits of a high value man. And if you're looking for a man who is really in his kingship, I would recommend that you look out for these particular traits. Another one is having courage. That's a divine masculine principle, courage to speak truth. So whether that's speak truth to other people, to bosses, to power, to control systems, and even to you. Because you should be able to receive a man's truth. He should be able to be himself if he's truly in his power. So yeah, I hope that gives you enough to work with, and the next video that I'm going to be doing is on how to attract a high value man, or the spiritual alpha, a man who's in his kingship. So watch out for that. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I will love you and leave you. Peace out.
You're introduced to LSD, and unless you've taken some other drug, like for instance like marijuana or something, well, you know, it's an altogether new thing. And you actually